So this is a pretty much like an all-level class geared with working a little bit with nervous system regulation and joint mobility. So we're going to start seated, and you can sit in any comfortable position. I'm sitting on a block here because that's a little bit easier. Feel free to sit on your heels or cross-legged or even on a chair. And then take your hands around your ribs. This is where your respiratory diaphragm lives, and I want you to just breathe into your hands and notice what you notice. Notice that maybe one side of your diaphragm is breathing a little bit easier than the other. You might find the breath coming easier to the front side of the body than the back. Just allow it to be so. Notice if the breath comes more into the chest or the belly when your respiratory diaphragm does what it does. And see if you can start to breathe a little bit more fully through the whole circumference of your hands, like feedback. Allow your seat to be heavy on whatever it is you're sitting upon. Releasing your diaphragm and rolling your shoulders, but staying connected to that fluid quality of your breath. Inhaling, shoulders float. Exhaling, shoulders sink. Finding the full range of the movement of your shoulders, and here the elbows can get involved, almost amplifying or underscoring the potential of your shoulder movement. Hands follow, and then getting the arms involved too. Full range, stretching as far back as you can. Inhaling, exhaling. In opposite direction. Shoulders move forward and down. Marrying very consciously the breath and the movement. Elbows. Finding a sense of yum and enjoyment at the movement of your body and the fullness of your breath. Still being aware of how your breath fills through your diaphragm and your belly, maybe your chest. Let's bring the arms out to the side. Far span reaching arms with the shoulder blades moving down the back, palms opening up to the side, fingers reaching, palms up, fingers reaching up, palms down, circling and moving the wrists and the fingers. Interlace the arms overhead and reach up through the index finger knuckle while the shoulder blades find their way onto the back rather than up towards the ears. Bringing the hands forward and down. And on your inhale, bringing them back up. Shoulder blades move down as the arms rise up. And reach is still full. Exhale, arms forward. Crossing the arm over. We're going to say the right arm to the left, gaze to the right. And the gaze to the right is allowing the chest to move in the direction of the gaze. There, just move my arm down a little bit more, finding a different spot on the shoulder to stretch, and then let's switch sides. So left arm over to the right, gaze to the left shoulder, chest following the gaze, squeezing the arm in and feeling that nice length through the back of the deltoid. Arm moves down, just kind of finding a different place for the stretch. And breath still present. Sweeping the arms up. Grabbing opposite elbow, so right elbow extends up into the left hand. Arm moves back and then release. Interlace the hands behind the back and bring the interlaced hands to the outside of your left hip, left ear to shoulder, and the chin moves down and the head rolls back. And this is, again, just about feeling, noticing the tension and the lengthening. No pushing here. Think about it more as exploration than pushing. Arms up, and we're going to switch sides. So left elbow up, gaze looks to the right, and then the head kind of helps shimmy the shoulder a little bit further back. Interlace the hands behind the back and bring the interlaced hands to the outside of your right hip, ear to shoulder. Breathing, head rolls and moves. You'll notice you might have a tendency to avoid discomfort or extreme sensation, and here, see if you can move slower rather than avoid. You don't have to go directly into something that doesn't feel good, obviously, but try to notice tendencies. Release. Little head circles. Head circles. Not bringing your head too far back, but you can kind of move back a little bit. Head circles, mobilizing all the little vertebrae, those cervical vertebrae in the neck. Interlace your hands behind your back and let the weight of your hands bring your head forward. Notice I'm not rolling forward through my chest. My head here presses back to the equal pressure that my hands press forward. And coming back up, little circle. Hand to the heart, the other hand to the low back. And we're gonna rise up through the pressure of our shins. So shins press strongly into the ground to float up without hoisting yourself forward from your momentum. And then coming down, maybe even slower. Here, bow forward, so it'll be a little bit easier. Press down through the shins to rise up. Your quads will be like, oh, hello. And then coming down, switch the hands. The hands are here to keep ourselves honest, so I'm not bowing or using momentum. Shins press down, quadriceps just work their little tushies to come up. And again. Rise. Arms out to the side, palms up. Circle the hands and come down. Great. So here, collarbones, this is like a constant that I want to work with, is collarbones wide, like far reaching. Tap on your collarbones just to wake them up. So in our brains, we have a body map. Our brains are mapping out all the different parts of our body, and so many of the parts of our body are sort of offline, and when they're offline, we don't have access to them. So we're gonna wake up the collarbones here. Bow forward, bring your right shoulder forward so that collarbone sticks out, and then squeeze the bejesus out of the place behind your collarbone. It's your pec muscle, there's all sorts of little muscles in there. Squeeze, 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 and shake it. It's like you're kind of wiggling your collarbone, and then reach your arms to the side and feel the difference. Let's do the other side. Left shoulder forward, grab the collarbone, grab, squeeze it so it's kind of like, ooh, yeah. And then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You can do this kneeling too. It might even be a little easier if you come up a little higher. Grab maybe 1 or 2 spots behind the collarbone and just shimmy, shimmy, wiggle, wiggle, and feel your collarbones like, wow, like get like a little hit of oxygen, fresh air, collarbones wide, and then reach the arms. Feel the difference after doing that. Palms down, I should say fingertips down, and arms reach back, squeezing the shoulder blades. So it's more than the arms going back, it's the shoulder blades squeezing the arms back. Palms up, fingers up, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then this time we're gonna bring the arms a little bit higher with the fingertips pointing straight back and squeeze, squeeze. So chest expanded, shoulder blades hug together, and then wiggle out the fingies without your rings flying off. That's always kind of a feat. Wiggle, 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 shimmy, shimmy, wiggle. Great. This is like washing your car. Sweep, sweep. Great. Settle back into kneeling. So butt can be to the floor or to the block. And knees, thigh bones extend long as you kind of scoop your tail underneath you. And then here, my hands are going into the groins, like I'm pushing the crease of my groins back towards the sit bones and then coming back. So mobilizing right where the femur head is deep in the hip socket, the acetabulum, coming forward, folding deep into the crease. So my back isn't rounding, it's more like the crease of my hip is folding, and then back. Lengthening the thighs, lengthening the belly, and folding again deep in those hip sockets. Yum. Arms come forward. My back again is straight, And almost like my pubic bone weaves through my inner thighs. My sit bones kind of reach behind me, but it's really about the groin creases, which is right where your hip socket is like 2 inches deep from the center of your bikini line. One more time back. Knees stay really rooted, grounded, so we're inviting length through our quadriceps. Those are big, strong muscles that we tend to use, especially when we're in a little bit of a flight or fight response, which is probably pretty normal for a lot of us right now. So left leg out to the side and bend and rise up and bend and just feel the sensations of the thighs. Move the foot back and bend. Feel the lengthening, maybe feel the tension. Arm overhead. Armpit to wrist, long. Circle the wrist. Grounding through the right foot, and then bow your chest forward. Reach from the back knee all the way to the armpit to the arm. And then coming into a twist. So just note that I did not do the twist on the other side. So when we get to the other side, feel free to just pause our little video, and then you can do the twist yourself. So moving in the twist, gaze down, gaze up. And chest is following. Gaze down and over my shoulder. Gaze up. And again, gaze down over my shoulder. Gaze up. And twist is like yum. Hands to the floor. Step into plank position. Feel the curl of your toes. Bend through your knees. Kind of walk out your feet. Hands grounded, arms straight. And press back into downward dog. Come forward into plank. And from your sit bones, glide back downward dog. Like someone just has like strings attached to your sit bones, and they gently pull those strings back. Coming up to kneeling. We're going to do the other side. So right knee, right foot forward, and bend. Yeah. Notice if it feels different on this side. Whole foot, whole right foot on the floor. It's like all the little sensory nerves of the foot can feel the texture of your mat or the texture of your floor. Foot comes back. We'll bring the elbow to the knee and do this again a few more times. Arms overhead. So again, line from waistline to armpit, long, and then from armpit to hand, long, without your shoulder blade climbing up. Circle wrists, circle hands, chest to the floor. Back knee all the way to the wrist. Full extension. So this is where we forgot to do the twist. Back into plank. Insides of your hands are where the majority of the pressure is in your plank position. If you find the weight coming into the pinky side of your hands, come down onto your knees. That is not good, partially detrimental to the health of your wrists. So make sure the pressure in your hands for any kind of weight-bearing pose to your hands is always to the index finger, knuckle, and the thumb. Rolling up. Checking in with breath. Feeling a sense of no rush. Hand to the heart, other hand to the low back, and just to prevent that low back sway. So full in the low back, steady in the heart, and lean back. You'll see my chin is tucking here, so the back of my neck is long. And come up, and again. Feel again your quads engage, the abdominals get strong, and slow up. Switching the sides. Hand to heart. And a low back, fill in the low back. So you have that nice information getter of the low back to make sure your low back isn't arching too much. Hands to the floor. Press back into plank. And this we're going to hold for a bit. And I'm gonna, in a little bit, demo some options, but just know right off the bat, you do have the option to bring your knees to the floor. You have the option of bringing your hands to fists if your wrists at all feel compromised, or even coming down onto your forearms. The crease of your wrists, if you choose to stay on your hands, should be parallel to the front of your mat. So you might find you want to turn your palms out just a little bit so that crease is in the same line as the top of your mat. Collarbones are wide. So here's a demo. Knees can come down. Collarbones are still wide. And even here, guess what? Your collarbones, those babies, they are wide, even with the knees down. Oh, it's true. And then let's come back into child's pose. So this here is sort of like the beauty of the work I'm hoping to give you guys, is to have that feeling of like heart increase, strong, strengthening, maybe a little bit of challenge, and then just tracking yourself settle. Feel your heartbeat and your exhale. And then from here, we're gonna curl our toes deeply underneath. I'm even kind of like making sure I have my toes wide and they're really folded nice. My feet are together, my heels are together. And then I'm sitting back onto my heels. My palms are pressing into the ground and I'm pushing my weight back into my tushy, back into my heels. And I'm breathing. Often when certain parts of our body get stressed, aka like pushed or stretched or strengthened, we hold something. We start breathing. So here, in this very conscious choice of putting my feet, my toes under stress, I'm gonna stay calm by all means necessary. Breath is steady, tongue is soft, collarbones wide, and my arms are gonna reach, palms forward, wide spread. The length of my arms are reaching back. Even here, my inner elbows, not coming forward, my elbows are reaching back. And even my wrists, my forearms are reaching back, and I'm not arching my back. So whole arms reaching back, and then start to sweep with that same extension back up, up, and down. And then come forward again. So opening up after we like kind of wake up and give the feet a little bit of a reprieve, we're going to work on our wrists. So curling up onto the toes, rolling over the tops of the toes, not all the way, and then coming back. This can be super intense, so this is optional. You can just come here, right here, if you want. If you want to come here, great. If you want to roll back further, like the heels reach back, it's like, ooh, hello. And then shake them out again, slap the tops of the feet into the floor. So here's the wrist. Fingertips face one another. And you'll see my upper back isn't rounding, my back is really neutral, and the weight of my shoulders is coming down really clearly into the outer wrists. Palms wide open, fingers extended. You can move the elbows a little bit, vary it. Index finger points forward and the rest of the fingers point back, as if your index finger and your middle finger are doing the splits, and then switch it. So the middle finger does the splits, and then the ring finger does the splits, and then the pinky finger does the splits with the other ones moving back. Palms on the floor, fingertips facing back towards your knees. Again, weight into the wrist and then roll back. And you're gonna peel the wrists up, the palmar surface of your hands up. And it can be quite intense. Start to bend the elbows. Stay soft in your tongue, and then shake out your hands back into plank. And here's another long hold of your plank. Notice if this one feels any different. Find the positioning of your shoulders that we've been working with so consciously, of the shoulder blades on the back and your collarbones long. It just naturally creates good posture for your spine. Be conscious about where the weight is in your hands. Evenly spread through every finger and imagine each finger having the ability to lengthen just like a millimeter more, as if it's stretching straight out of the source of itself at the wrist. Again, you have the option to lower down. Here we're going to bend the elbows. You can do this on your knees too. Press back up and then lower all the way down, Chaturanga Dandasana, to your belly, making a little pillow with your hands for your noggin. This is another place where I want you to just rest. Track the beat of your heart. Feel the aliveness in your body and watch it start to settle. What right now can get a little bit heavier? Is it your head or your jaw, your pelvis, your belly? And setting our legs up for a back bend, so almost like you're turning your inner thighs up and your outer thighs down, so lengthening and rotating your legs so they're in alignment. And with your hands to your forehead, just like you were, rise up. Extend your elbows back like you're trying to squeeze your elbows into one another at the back side of your body. Notice here my chin isn't extending forward like that. The back of my neck is long and my sternum is lifted. Legs are as much on the floor as they can be. Hands can come down, or you can come down onto your forearms and come into a Sphinx pose. It's yummy. If the hands come down, rise up into a cobra, sort of peeling up vertebra by vertebra. If there's any strain in your low back, just come down all the way onto your belly. The arms here squeezing back, lower down, and from here we're going to come up into plank to down dog. Plank. And I want to demo what I don't necessarily want you to do. So cobra, plank, not so much. Instead, let's just kind of float up to plank, even on our knees, which is actually really great, and then to downward facing dog. Heels extending towards the floor. My body is not a great example of that, but believe me, people, they are reaching down. And my hands are pressing as if my hands just like drink in the texture of my mat, even through the webbing of my fingers. Even those guys are like, wow, it feels so good to be in contact. Stepping forward into like a shortened, a halfway down dog. Again, arms pushing back into the sit bones. You're going to feel a lot of stretch through the backs of the legs. Bending the knees is an option. And then coming all the way forward into a forward fold. Your hands can stay to the floor here, or you can grab a mat or a block, is what I mean, and bring your hands to the block. This is a little nicer if your hammies feel a little stressed or if they feel kind of too tight. Bending the knees and straightening the legs in a smidge. So these are other arm positions, hands to the thighs or the shins. Bending the knees, groins move way back. So again, this is like a hip mobilizer. It's like nourishment for the hip sockets. Knees track straight and straighten. Hands can be to the floor here or to the block. Yeah. Folding. Bending the knees again. And we're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time. And the way we're going to do it is tailbone is going to be like the weight that directs sacrum up. And each vertebrae at a time starts to roll up. My body is not a great demo for this because my lumbars are so flat, but you'll see like the upper thoracics can roll up one vertebrae at a time. And in a back that's really uniform, you'll see that the whole curl up, but I feel it. That's what I feel in my body, even though that's not necessarily what it looks like. I'm tuning back to the breath. Centering. from here. We're going to bring the arms, we're going to do a side stretch. So left ear to left shoulder, and then rolling down vertebra by vertebra. We just rolled up vertebra by vertebra, so we're going to do a side vertebra by vertebra. Feeling the weight in the left foot and push down into that left foot to rise up rather than hoisting up. Right ear to right shoulder, rolling down vertebra by vertebra by vertebra, and feeling the weight in that right foot. Push into the right foot to rise up, one vertebra at a time. Again, ear to shoulder, roll. Be like luxurious about it. Let it be yummy and a chance to get to explore the parts of your spine that move differentiatedly. Is that a word? And the parts that move together. Goalpost arms. So not elbows down. Elbows carve forward, wrists come back. Not back. Elbows carve forward, wrists come back, chest rises. So bottom tips of the shoulder blades hug together here. Bottom tips hug together without the low back arching. So not like that, like that. Belly in, ribs in here, and lower belly, almost like the rectus abdominis, which is the most superficial muscle of your guts, of your belly. Those guys hug together. And we're going to bring the right foot in front of the left. Seems simple, but wait until you try it. This is actually a pretty fun balance pose. So elbows carved forward, wrists back, collarbones wide, heart soft, and then coming up into tree. Left foot can come either to the ankle, the shin, or the thigh. Give yourself a chance to fall if need be. The heel presses into the thigh bone, and the thigh bone presses back into the heel. Bring palms together. This is Anjali Mudra, the prayer position. It's sacred, obviously, ancient position of centering. And use it as such. Press the palms together. Bring the knee up, squeeze it up, and then extend it back. Don't lose the hugging of the rectus or the softening of your heart as your left glute squeezes. Arms come up. And just note, I forget to do this on the other side. So again, you might want to pause when we get to the other side. So here the knee's going to come up and circle, circle. Mobilizing and back down. Palms together. Anjali Mudra. Other side. So this is my right foot forward, and I will soon switch. Oops. Good. Left foot forward, right foot back. Like you're on a little balance beam. Our back is not arched. Rectus is hugging in. Heart is soft. Elbows carve forward. Backs of the wrists hug back. And you'll feel this in your deltoids. Almost like the collarbone themselves are sort of swirling back. Tree pose, whatever version of tree feels in support of where you are in this moment, knowing that that's different now than maybe it has been yesterday or will be tomorrow. Anjali Mudra, with a sense of strength, hugging the palms together. Knee comes forward. Inner knee hugging the midline and squeeze. Extend your leg back. Rectus in, heart soft, squeeze that right glute. Hug it in. It's like a big support of a healthy back is strong glutes. So this is where we forgot to raise the arm and do the circles. Respiratory diaphragm, check in. Wide stance. Pressure here to equally the outsides of the feet and the insides. I'm taking my hand, one hand to the back of the head and one hand to the low back. The back of the head press back into the hand, and my hand is right where the head and the neck meet. And I'm doing that, otherwise my head wants to come forward. And here, I really do want you to have a flat back. Low back full in the left palm, back of the head presses back into the right palm, forward and up. Feel free here to have a soft bend in your knees. Again. Explore. What are the muscles being utilized in the rising and the holding? Lowering your hands to the floor. Enjoying. Then from here, we're going to turn our feet out. And turn the heels in and bend through the knees. Bend through one knee, straighten the opposite. My back is trying to stay flat. It might round a little bit, but the intention and the integrity is flat as I move from side to side. The bent knee is in the same direction as the foot. So the angle of the thigh bone and the angle of the foot are on the exact same angle. If that's difficult for you, just make sure to line it up. If it's too much, you can unbend your knees a little bit, such as this. Arms are in a cactus or straight or behind the noggin. Finding the position again that feels like it's really suiting your needs. And in this position, I find my thigh bones lengthening and the backs of my knees pressing back. But the back pressure really comes from the extension of the inner thighs. One heel lifts, other heel lifts. And the lifting of the heels is really about the inner heels pressing forward, so the pressure is on the mound of the big toe. Feel free to raise both heels or one at a time again. Shoulder blades are just chilling. Heart soft. Tongue soft. Good. Heels down lower just a little more. And breathe. And rise up, folding forward once again, enjoying. Coming down onto your knees. Breath. Even inhale and even exhale. Let's bring the feet forward, and here I'm tucking my back leg behind me with the heel right into the tush. So that's option number one. Option number two, especially if you have hinky knees, come into option two, which is Janushirshasana. This one, I'm bringing my leg behind me because my body tends to be very outwardly rotated. So this is a support of the balance of an inward rotation. I'm folding between the knees, and then I come into just a little baby twist with my right hand to the outside of my shin, my other hand to the floor, and my hands are really helping drive my chest to move in the direction of the twist. Switching sides. Again, you can come into this position, which is in service of me, or Janushirshasana, which is probably really, really nice too, and more in service of probably the average Joe or the general population. Hands between the knees and easy fold. Yeah, you'll see this is literally as far as I can fold. Don't make fun of me. Most people, if they come into this position, can fold further. But do what you can. I'm a good demo of just doing what you can. And again, hands are working to help direct my sternum towards the twist that I'm intending here. Releasing. Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. So I'm taking my block and directing it behind my tushy, and that's an option. Come and sit on the block, especially if you feel your back rounding, if you feel the top of the sacrum tipping back. If you can sit up pretty straight on the floor, stay there. If you can fold forward, great. It's really about sensation. It's not about what it looks like. What does it feel like? From the pubic bone to the inner knees, get long. Bringing your hands over to the right side, Notice my left side is staying down and long, almost like I'm pushing the left seat into the ground from the strength of my arms. I don't want it lifted like I just demoed. And then to the other side, pushing my weight back into my right hip and still twisting, still being conscious about that thigh lengthening away from the hip. Balanced action, right? Like, what is extending? What is the anchor? What's in oppositional movement? Legs straight. Just shimming out my tushy so my sit bones can find ground. An easy fold. Easy fold. Breath. My hands are like, ground feels nice. So rub your palms together so you get some heat. Lots of heat. And then we're going to place the warm hands over the eyes. And this is so great to nourish your eyes, especially after looking at screens for too long, like many of us I'm sure have. It's just a little like eye lovin'. Laying down onto your back. And first I'm just like checking in. Where do I want my arms to be? Where do I want my feet and legs to be? Once I find the position, I'm wiggling out my legs, wiggling out my body, wiggle, wiggle, and then allowing myself to settle. One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. This is optional. This is such a beautiful, archaic positioning of support. This is so classic, how we almost unconsciously support ourselves. And what does it feel like here to do it consciously if you so choose? Feel the weight of your bones. Very much allowing the architecture of your structure to rest. Imagine your skin so soft, it's almost permeable. And bringing attention back into the space of the room. Maybe gently beginning to bat your eyes open without moving a whole lot, taking in the space around you. Can you keep your eyes gently open and stay heavy and rested internally at the same time? From here, we're going to interlace the hands behind the back, behind the head. And I want you, without moving your head, to move your eyes, just your eyes, to the left. As if your eyes are trying to see and peer beyond the left elbow. And you might feel, I hope you feel, a sense of something inside wanting to take a deep breath or wanting to sigh or yawn. We'll hold this for just a little bit, and then moving the eyes in the opposite direction. The eyes gaze strongly towards and beyond the right elbow. And you might feel strain in your eyes when you do this, and know that that's fine. This is actually a way to balance your 10th cranial nerve, which is responsible for the stress response. So this is a way to just chill the F out. And when you're finished rolling onto your side, lazily coming up to seated, we'll bring our palms together in front of the heart and just check in with your bod. Check in with the quality of your energy. And if you're anything like me, you're feeling a bit of gratitude. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me and taking care of yourself. I hope you are well.